Godzilla is a national icon. The monster has made many appearances ever since he was first created in 1954. Throughout that time, we've been introduced to many other kaijus in the Godzilla franchise. While many are faring better and even returning from modern interpretations, others have somewhat fallen into obscurity. So today we're going to be looking at the most underrated kaijus of the Godzilla franchise. So let's get started. Starting off, we have Anguirus. Now, saying that Anguirus is an underrated kaiju is far-fetched. However, he has been overshadowed in recent years. He first appeared in the 1955 film Godzilla Raids Again as Godzilla's first adversary. The two fought on an island before being brought to Osaka, where they wreaked havoc on the city, but eventually Godzilla would triumph. After this, Anguirus would make several more appearances in the Showa era of Godzilla, including Destroy All Monsters, All Monsters Attack, Godzilla vs. Gigan, Godzilla vs. Megalon, and finally Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla. He would not make another appearance in Godzilla films until 2004. However, there were several attempts to have him in other Godzilla films, but many of these ideas were scrapped. In 2004, he would make an appearance in Godzilla Final Wars as a kaiju controlled by the Zillions. After this, he would make many more appearances in games, books, and even appeared in the show Godzilla Singular Point. Anguirus has some come back to films, but other than this, he's been overlooked. In many of the books created by IDW, Godzilla and Anguirus are seen as allies and have assisted each other in many battles. Anguirus has even fought the titular Destroyer by himself and still won. And why I'm saying this is because he is still doing pretty well in other types of media besides films. And honestly, he could make a comeback in a legendary film, but we're just gonna have to wait and see. And right now, it seems like he's faring better in books rather than films. Next up, we have Manda. Manda is a sea dragon who first appeared in the film Atragon. He is the guardian of an ancient civilization known as Mu and fights the Gotengo, a weaponized submarine that is used to drill into Mu. After this, he reappeared in Destroy All Monsters, where he and many other kaiju are taken control of by the Keelak aliens, and eventually they break control and fight King Ghidorah. After this, Manda would not make any more film appearances until Godzilla Final Wars, where he fights the Gotengo again, but eventually loses. He then reappears in Godzilla Singular Point, where he attacks several fishing boats in Tokyo Bay, until he is killed by Godzilla Aquatilius. Another Manda is killed by Godzilla Ultima. Manda is pretty underrated. He's seen as a slow sea dragon that is easily killed by anyone Manda fights. And like I just mentioned before in Godzilla Singular Point, he is killed twice by Godzilla. However, he does have some cool abilities that make him a cool kaiju to see in the future. This kind of includes the fact that he's able to actually release electricity from his arms, which is only seen in Atragon. And his abilities are also shown in the comics like in IDW. And this just shows how powerful he could be. And hopefully one day we can see Manda in more future films. Next up is Gorosaurus. Now, Gorosaurus is a kaiju that in all honesty, he has a good reason for being underrated. And that's because many will look at him and say, isn't this just a dinosaur? Which, yeah, it makes sense, but there are still some good things to say about him. For example, in the two films he appeared in, King Kong Escapes and Destroy All Monsters, he is seen to be able to stand his ground in fights. In King Kong Escapes, Gorosaurus fights against King Kong. He's able to stand his ground until Kong grasps his jaw and pries it open, which, yeah, that kills him. His final film appearance, however, in Destroy All Monsters, shows him doing a lot more than what he did in his last film appearance. He and other kaiju are placed on an island known as Monsterland, where he is kept under surveillance. He is then placed under control by the Keelak aliens, but is set free by the protagonists of the film. Gorosaurus and several other kaiju then face off against King Ghidorah. During the fight, Gorosaurus uses his kangaroo kick to pummel Ghidorah to the ground, allowing the kaijus to finally defeat Ghidorah. So while Gorosaurus may seem like a plain old dinosaur, he still has enough abilities to help him stand his ground, and hopefully, he is recognized for what he can actually do. By the way, he can also burrow underground, and that's shown in Destroy All Monsters when he's destroying Paris. So that's pretty neat. Finally, the last kaiju and my personal favorite kaiju we'll be going over is Baragon. Baragon is a kaiju seen in films such as Frankenstein vs. Baragon, and of course Destroy All Monsters, but most of these kaiju are in that film too. However, he's also in the film Godzilla, Mothra, and King Ghidorah, Giant Monsters All Out Attack. In his first film appearance, Baragon is a creature who terrorizes the land and faces off against Frankenstein, who defeats him by snapping his neck, although there are two alternate endings to this film that show different fates. His next film appearance is Destroy All Monsters. Destroy All Monsters shows Baragon on Monsterland with the other kaiju. However, I've talked about Destroy All Monsters like several times on this list, and in the film, Baragon doesn't really do that much, although he was originally planned to destroy Paris. So we're just going to skip to GFK. Baragon's last film appearance is Godzilla, Mothra, and King Ghidorah, Giant Monsters All Out Attack. In this film, he is the guardian of the Earth alongside Mothra and King Ghidorah, but after confronting Godzilla, he's killed in battle. Honestly, Baragon is a pretty cool kaiju. He has many cool abilities like burrowing, and he even has his own magma heat ray, which he only uses in Frankenstein vs. Baragon. He also has a lot of potential when it comes to a future Godzilla film, so hopefully we can see this cool kaiju in a legendary or even a Toho film in the distant future. Now there are a lot of other underrated kaijus in the Godzilla franchise, so if you guys want me to go over those, subscribe and like this video, and leave a comment down below. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys next time. See ya.